Allow me to remind you of where your allegiance should stand. It is imperative that you understand, New York, you are not woke enough. We appreciate your attempts to put yourself out there and to give the impression that you are woke, but you are not. Your decision to allow abortion almost upon the date of birth is a valid attempt, but you have actually systematically contributed to white supremacy. You have encouraged the murder of minority babies. You have systematically contributed to the elimination of babies of color. Those babies of colors would contribute in our efforts as an army of wokeness. And you have created legislation to allow babies to be eliminated and aborted even upon the date of birth in New York. This is unacceptable. Even though this legislation in New York will allow white babies to be eliminated, it will have other casualties as well, which will include people of color that would have easily contributed to our efforts to increase the wokeness. New York, we appreciate your attempts. Cuomo, we appreciate your attempts, but it is not acceptable. It is not enough. The legislation should be clearly defined that the babies of color should be an exception to this abortion law. To truly achieve the real sense of wokeness, this legislation should allow parents who are giving birth to babies that are not of color, that are contributing to white supremacy. Those are the babies that need to be eliminated. I hereby state that New York is not good enough. It is ridiculous that they write this legislation, that they allow this to pass, that they should contribute to the elimination of babies of color. Many criticize Planned Parenthood for this, and while it is the right of the mother to decide to have the baby be aborted early on, we understand that to a certain degree, but this legislation is allowing babies to be aborted almost on the date of birth, and that level of wokeness is being eradicated. Babies of color are being eradicated. This legislation originally had the right intent. Cuomo, we appreciate the effort. Thank you again. New York, you have contributed to wokeness on various levels, and we thank you again. But this legislation is a failure. It is an absolute failure. And I myself, as Smoke, and calling upon all of those that walk with me as part of the smoke screen, this is not woke enough for us. New York, you are not woke. You need to understand that you have failed. You have failed tremendously in your efforts for wokeness. The effort is valid. The attempt is valid. This legislation needs to be rewritten clearly to define that white supremacy should be eliminated, that it should only be white babies upon the date of birth. They can then eliminate them, and that the babies of color should be an exception to this rule. This law is contributing to this mindset, this systematic oppression and the systematic elimination of babies of color. We will not stand by this. Not one bit, not 1 second. New York, you are not woke. Cuomo, you are not woke. We understand where you are coming from, but this is unacceptable across the board. You need to change the legislation if you want to be one with us and to be truly woke and to be truly part of this elimination of white supremacy. So we ask upon all of you, those who have joined the smoke screen, you need to write to your senator, your governor, anybody in New York. They need to understand that this legislation is unacceptable, even though it originally had the proper intention, and even though those who have written it are part of the Democratic Party and the liberals and the left. This has to be rewritten and needs to be modified if New York is truly to be woke. I have laid down this message for anyone listening to understand that this has to change. We will not accept this. To be truly woke, this has to change. And now.